Have you ever got into a power struggle with a child and the child doesn't comply and you keep forcing them? Or have you seen somebody else do this? And this whole thing unravels where it becomes a push and pull between the grown-up and the child. Hi, my name is Prerna Richards and I'm a behavior coach. Today I want to talk about co-regulation versus compliance. And I was in a classroom last week doing an observation, and this incident happened that I'm still carrying in my heart today because I was just like, I don't understand. How did we get here? How did early childhood become like this? So to set the scene, it was table time activities. There was kids who were doing tracing the letters on their journal, and some kids were at the other table doing books. This one little girl was sitting next to the teacher. And so the minute I walked into the classroom, this teacher had a big smile on her face and she's like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're here. I heard you were coming. I need help with this one. Like, she is my trouble." Like, pointing to the child who's sitting right next to her as I'm walking in. Of course, the child can see this. And of course, she understands that she's being pointed at. And she's about 3.5, 4 years old. I'm not quite sure. It's a preschool classroom. And so I sit behind, I just smile at the teacher and I just sit behind to let them continue. And what was happening in that moment was that the teacher wanted her, this was the team teacher. The lead teacher had instructed the team teacher to make, I'm going to call her Sophia complete the task of tracing the letters. And so the team teacher is saying, "You have to trace that, you have to trace that. Pick up your pencil, pick it up, pick it up." And Sophia is doing this and she's not wanting to trace, and clearly she's not wanting any part of this. So the teachers are talking amongst themselves. She has to learn to listen, and she needs to know that she just can't get away with stuff. And she needs to know when we say something, she needs to listen. And this is why we come to school, and she always does whatever she wants and this and that. And while they're doing this, and then the team teacher is forcing her to write, pick it up, and she's not picking up. And so she's kind of getting her hand and she's trying to make her pick up the pencil to write. And this girl starts getting really dysregulated. She's pushing the chair away, she's pushing the table away. It escalates. And very quickly she's crying, she's yelling at the teacher, she's screaming, she's got tears, she's clearly distressed. But it doesn't stop. Pick it up, it keeps going on. And this happens really long time. And the teachers say to each other, "We can't let her win. She needs to listen. She needs to learn. This is how we do this." And they kind of keep looking back at me like, "Are you seeing this behavior? This is what we deal with every single day." Finally, that girl just broke. That's the best way that I have for this. She just wanted this torture to stop. She just wanted this, intense pressure to stop. And so she picked up the pencil and she just did something. She scribbled. Well, then that became a trigger. "You don't scribble on the piece of paper, and you didn't listen, and you didn't do it right." And so that then became, "You need to fix this and go get an eraser, and you can't just do this." So now already, 30 minutes has gone now. And everybody else is doing whatever they're doing. It's like such a waste of time. And there's so much stress and so much tension. And it actually made me really angry. It made me angry. It made me sad. It made me just feel like, how did we get here? What are we doing to kids? Can you imagine if there was a grown-up in your office, if you were working and somebody came into your office and forced you to pick up something and forced you to do something? You wouldn't stand for it. And yet we do so much to children and we expect them to just comply. We just expect them to follow instructions. This is not childhood. This is not joy. And do we understand that we don't learn when we are stressed out? And that child was struggling. That child was stressed out. But, the teachers don't even feel like it's mean because the end justifies the means. The point of the activity is that we need to learn our letters. The point of the activity is that, we need to trace the letters. Does any learning happen when you're that distressed? Does any learning happen when the brain is so overwhelmed with pressure? And we've also forgotten that learning can only happen when we experience joy. Joy is the emotion of learning. When children are enjoying something, when grown-ups are enjoying something, they're more likely to learn. What is this child's experience going to be for school and for learning if she's forced so much to just pick up that pencil and trace something? And she did it because she just broke in the end. She just wanted this torture to stop. And I'm calling it torture. And maybe I'll also use the word abuse and neglect, because we are neglecting that there's a heart there. We're abusing our authority because we're the grown-up. So, it's really, really important, guys. If you are teaching young children, come from an understanding perspective, come from an empathetic perspective. We've all been there. We lose our patience with children. We've all been there where we get triggered. But this is not okay to put this much pressure on the kids. So what can you do? So compliance is forcing them to do something, knowing that clearly they're not capable of doing it right now. That's compliance. That's what was happening. The co-regulation is the opposite of that. The first step of co-regulation is to recognize that this child is struggling. And just take a breath and take a pause. Okay, whatever it is that you're doing, is it worth it? Is it that important, or is the human being more important? So first step of co-regulation, take a pause, recognize that this child is struggling. And the best sentence you can say is, that looks really hard for you. What can we do to help? Right? Instead of forcing, recognizing that that person is distressed, because behavior is a form of communication, right? Behavior has meaning. She was yelling, she was screaming, she was pushing, and then she was getting redirected for that. Don't you yell at me, and don't you speak to me like this, and don't you do this? And I mean, she's doing it because she's getting triggered by the force that you're putting on her. So when you find yourself in these situations, if this resonates with you, or if you've seen someone doing it, if this is where you find yourself, that you get into a power struggle with a child, just take a pause. Just take a pause, take a breath, and just regulate yourself. What am I feeling right now? And is this worth it? There's another human involved here, and can I show up understanding? So, instead of labeling all the things that she was doing wrong, pick it up properly. And then the teacher even said, even when she made the effort to write and she did this, she even tried a little bit. The teacher said, you have to make it pretty, make it look pretty. Who is going to make anything look pretty when they're stressed out? And then on top of that, your mommy will not be happy with you. So there's another thread. Like, it just escalates and escalates. So for co-regulation, if you find yourself in this place, just ask yourself, is this worth it? And how can I help? And what is the child feeling? If you can just acknowledge some emotions there, it might bring co-regulation instead of compliance into your attention. Also, instead of labeling all the things that the child is doing wrong, flip it to listening. Ask the child, what's the problem? What happened? How are you feeling? What's going on? Let's talk about this, right? And she was very capable of talking. She's 3.5 and 4 years old. Long story short, after it was all finished, I found out from the director, and when we had the debrief, because I always have a debrief at the end of the coaching, come to find out this child has barely been in this new classroom for 3 days. She was just shifted from the other classroom for the summer program. These teachers haven't bonded with her. There's no connection. There's no relationship. All they're doing is forcing her to comply. Connection before compliance. Connection before curriculum. Connection before correction, right? These 3 C's can change your classrooms. These 3 things can bring your stress down and the child's stress down. If you like, subscribe and share it with others who might benefit, and leave me a comment if this resonated with you, or if you have a question you're wondering about. We have a membership starting for Together We Grow. It's a safe community where we can talk about stress and challenging behaviors. If you're interested, reach out. I'd love to tell you more about it. And thank you for listening, and all the best. You got this. You got this. Take care of you so you can take care of them. They're depending on you to be calm. You're no good if you're stressed out. Thank you for the difference you make in early childhood. You got this. Bye for now.